Okay, I thought I'd show you guys. I got the board stained now. This part of the process doesn't really take all that long. I just thought I'd show you some of the products I used. There's nothing special. This is stuff you can get at your local Home Depot. The Veristain the color I use is called Gunstock. It also doubles as to hide your guns if you put them on the shelf. Um, there's a new product I use. I thought I'd give it a try. It's called a wipe-on poly, and no, it's not something you can use in place of toilet paper in case there's another shortage. Uh, this was a product that worked very well. I have never used anything like that. The advantage to it was that it allowed you to just wipe it on with a rag. Pretty simple. It's supposed to give like a hand rub finish. The version I used was called Satin. You can two coat it. I think that's recommended. Um, it's not something that's going to give you a high gloss sheenery thing, which is fine for what I wanted to use it for. And then just in case, the green is just something I bought. It's my train room green, basically. Just using it. Also, it's another Home Depot product. It's the Bear paint. The color I select was Alfalfa Extract. So this is a color sample that they have that I used. It kind of matches kind of a yellowish green. That's my backdrop colors. It's just regular interior latex house paint. I do mix it with water, and it's very thin. Um, I make it to the consistency like a stain instead of a paint. You can put it on as thin or as thick as you like. The final product, finished coat, I've got board here. I don't know if you can see this very well or not, but it does let the grain show through if you put it on rather thin. It's got the effect that I'm looking for. I'm trying to go for that aged, distressed, undistressed look, so to speak. You can sand this off and bare spots down. Take and apply some stain in the bare spots and have kind of a further age effect to it if you like. But, I'm not doing that. When I get done, the only thing you're really going to see on this is the edges and the inside because these pieces are wall to wall. So it's not something that's going to show all that much. I just like the contrast between the paint and stain look on it, just so everything's not the same color. Like I said, I prefer finish, even though this doesn't look like it really has much of a finish on it. Trust me, it does finish the stain, so it seals it. Hello again. Got a little bit ahead of myself and started assembling it. It went pretty quick, so I know this is a little bit unusual looking here, but I don't really have a proper workshop, so this is just the best way for me to do it because it keeps everything solid where I can put force against the other side. Plus, it makes it easier for me to line the screws up. I was planning on not screwing every shelf in, but the more I got to thinking about it, it just, it's just something that my OCD has to do. So, this is pretty solid as it is. As you can see, this went together pretty quickly just because everything's already lined up. I don't have to have spacers or anything like that to keep it all lined up. So you can see here, believe, so this is my 5.5-inch block, if you remember, that I use to space everything out with. And you can see it's easily maintaining that. I mean, if you didn't have these dados in here, you'd have to have something like this just to help you install all that. Well, just by doing the datoing, it eliminates all that. That's why it's, for me, it's quicker to, you know, solve this out than it is to try to manhandle this by myself, trying to get all these shelves to line up. It just makes it quicker overall for me. So I enjoy doing it this way just because it's, you know, much better deal. I didn't plan to spend a lot of effort into making some type of a support so I can prop this against to keep things from shifting. So this to me is just easy enough for me to stand it up and do it on. It's just an extra long shelf, so it's a little bit tough to screw these shelves together without doing it this way. Now, last night I went down and took a look at the shelving unit already made. So it looks like I did kind of sand a little bit of paint off here and there on some of the edge just to give it kind of a wear look, and did stain it. So just so this will match, I'll do the same thing with this, just so they'll all be the same. So I know I said I wasn't going to do that. This also makes it easy for me to line the screws up real quick without knowing I'm gonna, that way I'll know I'm gonna hit the shelf. So this is just a lot easier to do it this way for me. Well, I just about forgot again, and I thought I'd take the time to show you just how easy these go together. Another big advantage to having the grooves centered in the middle of the board. So I've got equal distance here and equal distance here, so that puts these grooves dead center. It gives me the flexibility that I can flip this board end for end, and I can use whichever edge to the front that I want. I lay this out the way I do it. I establish the back of the front. You know, in this, for this shelving unit, the back is against the floor, the front's facing me. So that way I can put the parts, you know, that aren't, you know, with blemishes and that stuff toward the back if I want to, or if there's some type of, you know, imperfection. It also allows me to, like I said, I can flip this board either way. Of course, all my grooves need to face one direction, so this would be the bottom in that case, and that would be the top. So just to show you just how easy this is to put together, since these are dadoed out, it's just a matter of putting these in the slot. line them up. You don't have to spend a bunch of time, you know, spacing these out because they're already spaced out for you. So this is where it really saves a lot of time. It helps to have, I like the joint just a little snug. I want some, have to go in kind of tight. You don't want it too tight. But, this is probably a little snug. So that's how easy it is to line your shelves up. And the nice thing about it, every shelf is spaced already for you perfectly. I get all the shelves in where I want them. You know, I stand this up just because I don't have anything to brace it against me. So it makes it a little bit tough to make this all stay together if you don't. Because, you know, whenever you beat on this end, because there's nothing here to brace it, it pops this, you beat on that end, it pops this end loose. So that's one of the disadvantages of having a shelf. So I'll put these in like that, these end pieces. I'm just establishing which one I wanted to be my bottom and top board. This is all I'm doing at this point. And then I'll just stand this up if it stays together. Mallet here. These shelves are just a little bit looser than I wanted. That's why it's better if they're a little bit snug. And just simply stand this up. Like so. And now I can apply bracing against the opposite end, which helps me screw this together better. The first shelving unit I built, I glued all these. I screwed and glued every one of them. I kind of decided I really didn't need to glue them all. So for these two units, I'm gluing these two outside boards obviously because there's nothing to hold these in like there is here. And then I'll glue and screw the center. And I just screwed everything else off. As you can see, this unit here, I've already got pretty close to being complete. You can see I put the top and bottom cleat in already. So I've got a cleat down there that would go against the wall once I put that up here, and the top cleat and the bottom cleat. So when I put this up against the wall, it also matters just getting it leveled where I want it. And then I'll have a stud finder where I can already have the studs located. And then it's just a matter of me putting this on the wall and then just screwing it down. It's pretty easy. Only thing I have left to do, of course, I need to stain these to match. Probably should have did that before I screwed it on there, but like I say, sometimes I get a little ahead of myself. And then I'll put the plumber strap along the back, and this is done and ready to hang, which I'm kind of looking forward to that because, you know, I've got a kind of a mess in my bar right now with a bunch of trays sitting everywhere. So this will take care of that pretty quick and get them up off the table I have them on now. So it's just a matter of screwing this unit together, and I'll have two units ready to go. You know, I'm hoping to get this one done prior so I can just go ahead and screw it and get it up there on the wall before I even assemble that one. But just so, you know, stop taking up space here in my garage. So it's kind of a couple of big bulky items here in the garage to kind of put away, but it's really not that big of a deal. So I'll continue on, and hopefully you guys can if you're looking to build some shelving, this is just one way to do it. It's not the only way. I understand that, I don't, what this is about also is trying to do this with minimal tool and space to do. As you can see, I don't have an actual workshop here, so I'm just doing it with basic tools, table saw, sanders, that type of thing, routers, if I decided to route that. Originally, I was going to face this out, but I just like the look of the tongue and groove here, and to me, it just added more to that character that I wanted in the shelving unit. These dado grooves, they do make it easier. If you don't have a dado blade, I understand it's not as easy to do. You can individually saw curve those dados out. I mean, I've done it that way too. In the past, it is kind of more drawn out. It would be kind of a lot to do if you're doing this much shelving. As you can see on the video how quickly this went. It didn't take any time at all. Your time's kind of set up in the fence. I use my fence as a stop just so I've got those predetermined measurements. And like I said, for you, I said in an earlier video, the only shelf that could really be off was the center shelf, because the way I have the stop set up, it's always going to cut the same distance from the end of the board, except for this shelf. So this shelf is a little bit off. You really can't tell it. That's why when I spun these around different orientations, that there was a difference on this lining up. And it's because this is the only shelf that's by itself measured from one end or the other. And, the 5 1/8 probably wasn't perfect. So, for that measurement here, I think when I arrived at this measurement here, I just took 48 inches and divided by a 6-inch spacing, and it determined how many boards that I needed. And I felt comfortable to, reduce that down. So I determined that, I could squeeze another shelf in there. And so where I came up with 9 shelves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But you have 8 spaces here. So all I did was to determine what I needed on the spacing for you guys that were maybe questioning that. It's just a matter of taking the 48 inches and you take your 9 3/4 inch pieces, add those together, and that's 6.75 inches. So these shelves in that 48 inches is going to take up 6.75 inches overall. So you're losing, sounds like a lot, doesn't it? 6.75 inches in that 48 inch span. And so all I did was take the 6.75 minus the 48, and I think I got like 41.25. And then I divide that by 8, and it came up with 6.156. So unfortunately, that's not 6.15 or 125, which would be inch or 5 1/8, but it's about as close as I was going to get. So I'm not a math whiz or anything. If you guys can get this to come out dead spot on, so be it. But it's not going to really matter. Like I said, I determined that 5 1/8 inch was closest to that. And so I know I've got 5 1/8, 5 1/8, 5 1/8, and 5 1/8, 5 1/8, and 5 1/8. Now this distance here may be a little bit different, but it's fractions of an inch. I mean, you can be off a pencil line, which is maybe a 1/16 of an inch. So it's pretty easy to get off. That's why it's good to have that spacer block when I was cutting these to lay this out. And for you guys that maybe I didn't make it too clear, when I say lay it out, all you have to do is lay that out on one board of the side you're doing, one side, halfway up, so the center shelf. And so that layout is only from here to there that you have to lay it out. Because if you're cutting multiple cuts simultaneously, you only have to lay that out half this distance to this center board. you don't have to lay that out on every side, because as you see when I cut that, it cuts down some time. You don't really need to measure every one of these out for every side and make sure they line up. It doesn't matter if they're going to line up. You know they're going to line up if you use a stop like I did. The only way it can be off is if you're not paying attention when you're sawing that and don't have that board tight to your stop or something. So it is something you know, if you do a lot of carpentry work or woodwork, you kind of develop a knack with that type of thing. One thing that helps quite a bit is an impact driver drill. If you plan on doing any type of woodworking such as this, I'd highly recommend it. It has a, for those of you not familiar with how they function, is they have a ratcheting action that will draw this joint up tight like that. So the screws I'm using, they're apparently I can't find 1-inch trim screws anymore. So I found these are just cabinet screws. They seem to be working pretty good too. I'm not really spending the time measuring anything out. I'm just basically eyeballing stuff. So you can measure it if you want to. I put enough stuff together that I just trust my eyeball. All right, here's the moment of truth. We'll take some measurements here, see how well we did. As you can see, with everything just set up on the saw, it takes away a lot of measurements that you got to do, and how everything's repetitive, so everything's going to match if it's if you're taking the time to set things up correctly on the saw, which eliminates you have to do any measurements or any of that sort of thing once you get all the cuts done. So this measurement here, I wanted 48. We're exactly 48 inches. There's 4 foot. I wanted 6 foot 5 inches overall. Take a measurement this way, maybe you can see it a little better. And just with the basic knowledge of having the measurement head, we're 6 foot 5 right on the money. If you notice all the shelves are lined up, I mean it's just basically a twin of each other. They're carbon copies, so it's no wonder everything lines up. And because everything was set up on the saw and all the measurements were done there, it eliminates the need for squaring this up. And this would be how you would square something like this. So you just measure from the corner, and you take the measurement from the same way. I know I've got the tape off to one side, but I'll mirror that over here. So we got 90.5. And this direction here, set it up the same way, and 90.5. So this shelf is dead on. It lines up with the one below. So I know those are going to be square when I put them on the wall. I didn't really have to take a bunch of time trying to square things up. If it's off a little bit, I mean, this thing is pretty easy. I mean, it's right now it's kind of in a somewhat vulnerable, flimsy state. It's easy to rack it a little bit if you're off just slightly. Sometimes hanging it on the wall is where I will take the time to make sure it's plumb and level. So it's easy to do it as I'm hanging this on the wall if it's off a little bit. And you know, it can be off you know, a fraction of an inch, 1/16, 1/8, pretty easy. So that's not a big deal to correct when you go to hang it. I like to get it square before I hang it on the wall, especially since I'm going to put this plumber strap. It's not something I really want to do a lot of shifting to the measurements after that plumber strap put on, because it's going to rack it. So I don't really want to tweak that if I can help it. So as you can see here, we got two identical units, just that easy, right on the table saw. All right, this I wanted to show you real quick. You know, I said I wasn't going to do this, but I ended up changing my mind after I realized the one I've done already, and I just thought it'd be good to match. I'm not too concerned about like these painted pieces getting dinged up in the process of you know, assembling the shelves and that type of thing. It kind of will help it, you know, ding it up to, of course, aging it anyway. So what I do is after I get done, and like I had these cleats that I was talking about that I put on, that had to be stained. So I had a little bit of stain on my rag, whatever residual stain I have left in my rag, I just take and go ahead and lightly wipe it over these surfaces here, and then along these edges that I've purposely sanded to make them look worn. And you just take whatever little bit of residual stain left in this rag. Sometimes you've got to kind of push a little bit harder, but you don't really want a saturated rag to do this. And then I just wipe it down. Like I say, these end pieces aren't such a big deal because you're not going to see these anyway, but I guess in case somebody ever takes them off the wall, at least they're finished, and they use them somehow else. So I just go over all the painted surfaces with the stain rag, and any nicks or dings or you know, unfinished wood areas that might have not got covered or exposed. We'll get a little bit of the stain on it and kind of tone it down so it's not such a glaring white. You know, you don't have to do this process. My idea was to, I guess for some reason, to make a grimy looking old shelf out of a perfectly good new shelf. So like I said, I'm going for that stressed, de-stressed, aged look. You know, this is just how I'm replicating it. I'm not sure the proper way to do this. You know, I just do things sometimes, though. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. But that, you know, that's why you kind of have to really paint this first, so you can, you know, if you want to sand this, you can expose the bare wood below, and then hit the stain over. You don't want this to be a dark stain necessarily, or maybe you do. Maybe that's what you're after. But in my case, I really wanted more of the green to be exposed than I do the stain color. And then, you know, after you go over it with the rag, with a little bit of stain on it like that, it's good. You know, I'll take a clean rag that doesn't have any stain, and then I just take and continue to work this in a little bit. You know, just feather it in, so it's not like a hot spot of stain in one particular spot. You get kind of a more of a worn look to it that way, more natural. So there it is. You know, show you guys, let you be the judge. Like I say, you don't have to do this. This will be the end results here of the effect that I was going for here. I want to try to make it look kind of a little bit worn and grimy. I'm not so worried about these shells looking that way. You know, so that way when I put these up, you know, all the shells will match, because like I said, I've already got an 8-foot section up on my wall now that these are going up with. So when I get done, I'll have, you know, 20 some feet of wall there. 77 inches. See, 77. So half of that would be 38 and a half. And we got a 3/4 inch wide plumber strap here. since I want to line it up on an edge instead of the center, we already know real easy that that's half of that 3/4, 3/8. So we would take 3/8 off of that if we want to find the edge of that, and we got 38 1/8. So 38 1/8 is where I want put my mark here on that. 38 1/8 here. It's going to be the left edge of my plumber strap. And then we just measure that same distance over here. Okay, we got 38 1/8 there. And then, you know, I just take some type of straight edge. Since I've got a 4-foot shelf, you know, a 4-foot level works really good for that. So I'm just going to line this up on that edge. And then on that mark there, yeah, like so. Looks pretty good. Of course, I'm doing this on the back side. I just put the strap on the back side only. And that way I got a good edge. You know, I'm going to use my little spacer block too to, you know, ensure that in case there's any bowing or anything like that. I'm surprised as long as I cut and stain this stuff that they're actually pretty straight looking still. So that's kind of surprising. I'm just going to line this strap up on the edge. It's a little bit wonky to try to do, but looks like I'm hitting on every one of those big holes pretty good. That's called a happy accident there. Right here, I found you know, I wanted something that had kind of a slim profile head to the screw. So these are just teak screws. You know, they got kind of a flat mushroom head. You guys can see that. And, you know, the cabinet screws I use are very similar. So, you know, that way they're not, I didn't have any trouble screwing the other shelf up on the wall where, you know, I was worried about it holding it off the wall or something like that. So it looks like we just go here. Okay, should be able to just go straight down the line here. Use a little spacer block here. I said I already measured this, and it was dead on. So there's my 5 1/8 right there. And so these all should be similar. Like I say, the center might be a little bit off, the center shelf, and that's only because there's an odd number of shelves. If they were even number, then I wouldn't have that odd shelf measurement thing. And like I said, the other side of this I painted with like a rusty red primer, rusty metal looking primer, and you know, kind of matches this wood a little better instead of this shiny little